Hey everyone, good morning. My name is Jackie and welcome. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the pros and cons I've experienced while living in South Florida and whether or not I regret moving down here. I've lived here for about a year now. I'm originally from Illinois. I grew up in Illinois, spent my whole life there, and graduated college in May of 2022. Shortly after graduating, I made the decision to move to South Florida. This past year has been interesting to say the least. There's been so many different things I've experienced, so I wanted to talk a little bit about my experience living here for a year now. Starting off with some of the pros, I would say the biggest pro that I've experienced is definitely the weather. The weather has been so beautiful year round. It's winter right now. I'm sitting outside, not shivering, so winter here has been so awesome. You know, I grew up living in Illinois my whole life. I've experienced the seasons, all 4 seasons, and winter was definitely the hardest season to get through just because it feels like it's so long. And, you know, the snow, ice, and just cold weather in general is not for me. It's just so much better when you can go outside and experience sun on a day-to-day basis, and that's exactly what you get here, which is super nice. The summers aren't as brutal as some people may think. Living in South Florida, some people would assume that the weather is just super duper hot all the time, but that's really not the case. Summers are a little bit humid, a little bit rainy, but I mean, it is called the Sunshine State for a reason, and you know, the weather has been definitely a huge pro. Going into point number 2, the variety of food down here. There is so many restaurants everywhere, and they're all different kinds. Like, you know, when I moved down here, I had never had Indian, Peruvian, Cuban, but now you have super easy access to all of that. There's just an abundance of restaurants to pick and choose from, and it can be overwhelming, but I would definitely say that's a big pro about living down here in South Florida. Not only is there a variety of restaurants and types of food to eat down here, but there's also an abundance of activities. You know, I live specifically in Fort Lauderdale, which is about 40 minutes to Miami, 30 minutes on a good day, about 45 to 50 minutes from West Palm, and 3 hours away from the Florida Keys. You know, living by so many big cities is great because you really get to pick and choose what you do on the weekends. And the last pro I wanted to go over is the beaches here. The beaches here are so beautiful, and there's so many to pick and choose from. One beach I love to go to is Los Olas Beach. It's super popular during spring break, and for good reason. There's so many restaurants and shops right along the beach, and the beach itself is beautiful. Another one of my top favorite beaches has to be South Beach. The sand there is just beautiful. The water is super clear and blue. You know, you can swim, snorkel, walk around the beach, bike. I love going to the beach down here. Before I moved down here, I was not the biggest beach person, but having such easy access to it, I find myself going there quite often. I've grown really fond of the beach, and it's definitely one of my favorite activities to do down here in South Florida. Now I kind of want to go into talking about some of the cons I've experienced while living down here. First one being, I'm far away from my family, which has been super hard. I used to spend every single weekend with them, and you know, moving across the country has been super hard. But you know, with that being said, I'm able to go home on holidays and whenever I get a chance, and they're also able to come and visit me. People love to vacation down here, and I feel like there's never gonna be a time where they're like, I don't want to come visit you in Florida. The area is beautiful, and like I said, there's an abundance of restaurants, activities, beaches, a lot of things to do down here that you don't necessarily get in Illinois. So having them come visit me and me getting to go home whenever I can has made living down here a little bit easier. It was a little tough at first, but after a little while, it got easier. Another con I would have to put on this list would be cost of living. Things tend to be more expensive down here, whether it's food, a place to live. You know, you can get roommates, you can make food at home as opposed to going out to eat all the time. If you learn to budget your money and be smart with it, it's really only as expensive as you make it. The last con I would have to say would be the amount of traffic down here. You know, living in such a big area where people are moving to constantly is a little bit difficult because traffic can be heavy at times, you know, in the mornings and afternoons. You know, at one point I had a job down here in Miami, and like I said, I live in Fort Lauderdale, so generally it's about 30 minutes to get there, but in the mornings and afternoons it took sometimes up to an hour and a half. But you know, there's ways to work around it. You can always leave earlier, take the express lanes, take an alternate route. There's really ways to work around it, but just know at certain times traffic can be very heavy. So now that I've gone over some of the pros and cons that I've experienced while living down here for about a year, do I regret moving here or not? I would have to say no, I don't regret it. My quality of life has definitely improved over the past year. I'm not dealing with the long winter months right now, and I get to go outside, like I said, at any point in the year, so that has been super great. I love being outside, getting to experience all the different restaurants, activities, things to do has been super enjoyable for me. So definitely do not regret moving here one bit. That is going to be it for this video. If you made it this far, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you again real soon. Bye.